What if it never rained again? Not for a week, not for a year, but never. No drops tapping against windows. No thunderstorms rolling across fields. No water returning to the earth from the sky. Just dry, unbroken silence. Scientists once ran models, theoretical, of course, asking, what if precipitation stopped globally? Within 60 days, crops collapse. Within 6 months, major rivers like the Nile, the Amazon, the Mississippi gone. Forests turn to dust. Animals vanish. And humanity? Desperate. Not just for water, but for answers. But here's the twist. This scenario isn't as far-fetched as it sounds. Changes in atmospheric patterns, rising temperatures, and shifting ocean currents are already slowing global rainfall in some regions. The question isn't if, it's when. And the scariest part? The tipping point may have already passed, and no one noticed. Hit like, subscribe, and let's go. For most of human history, rain has been a constant. Unpredictable, yes, but always returning. Civilizations rose and fell depending on its rhythm. From the fertile crescents of Mesopotamia to the monsoons of Southeast Asia, rain dictated life and death. Today, in our modern world, we barely think about it. We turn on a faucet, fill a glass, water our lawns, all without asking where it truly comes from. Satellites monitor weather patterns. Artificial intelligence forecasts storms. Climate models predict rainfall decades ahead. It feels like we've mastered nature. But beneath that illusion, something is shifting. Global temperatures have risen by over 1.2 degrees Celsius since the industrial age. Oceans, the planet's great climate engine, are warmer, angrier, less predictable. Jet streams are wobbling. Droughts are becoming longer. Rainfall, once seasonal and reliable, is now erratic in some places and absent in others. In parts of Africa and the Middle East, entire communities have already vanished, forced to abandon land that no longer receives the sky's gift. Meanwhile, megacities in developed nations rely on aging water systems, tapping aquifers faster than they can refill. We're not running out of water, we're running out of balance. Scientists warn that we may be approaching a climatic threshold, one where the global water cycle could begin to unravel. And if that happens, the rain might not come back. What would a world without rain really look like? Keep watching. The truth is darker and closer than you think. It began quietly. No headlines, no alarms, just a few unusual readings deep within climate data. Small shifts in precipitation trends, first noticed by independent researchers in the early 2000s. They weren't looking for global collapse, just curious about declining rainfall in regions like California, Southern Europe, and Central Asia. But year after year, the data repeated itself, louder. Rain was not only becoming less frequent, it was becoming disconnected from the old seasonal cycles. Patterns that had lasted for centuries were now breaking down. In 2014, a team of climate scientists at the Max Planck Institute published a report warning of long-term atmospheric disruption. Few paid attention. The media was focused on rising sea levels, not empty skies. But some listened. Government think tanks, intelligence agencies, and most notably, hydrologists. Water experts who understood one truth better than anyone. The rain cycle is fragile. It depends on countless variables: ocean heat, polar ice, wind currents, forest evaporation, all dancing together in delicate balance. Disrupt one piece, the system strains. Disrupt several, the system breaks. By the mid-2020s, satellite data confirmed that certain regions were entering what climatologists now call dry spirals, feedback loops where lack of rain creates conditions that make future rain even less likely. And while scientists tried to sound the alarm, the world kept turning faucets, kept building deserts of concrete, kept burning, kept assuming the sky would do what it always had. But nature doesn't make promises. And once the rain stops, really stops, nothing we do may bring it back. By 2035, more than 1/3 of the world's population is projected to live in areas facing chronic water scarcity. Not because rivers are drying, but because rain is no longer coming to refill them. The Amazon rainforest, once called the lungs of the earth, has already lost over 17% of its surface. And with less rainfall, Large portions are beginning to die, turning from jungle to dry savanna. In India, groundwater reserves in major cities like Delhi and Chennai have dropped so low, NASA satellites have recorded measurable subsidence, the Earth literally sinking. In California's Central Valley, farmland is cracking, breaking apart under the weight of vanishing aquifers. But this isn't just about trees, farms, or rivers. It's about the chain reaction that follows. When rain stops, crops fail. When crops fail, food prices soar. When prices rise, nations destabilize. Wars aren't started by rainfall, but they endure because of hunger, thirst, and desperation. Across the Sahel in Africa, entire communities are on the move, not from war zones, but from dry land. Families walking for days towards cities that no longer have the resources to absorb them. And yet, the bigger danger isn't just that it's happening. It's that we are still acting as if it's not. The satellites show it. The data confirms it. The warning signs are everywhere. And still, we wait, as if someone else will fix it. But what if this time, no one can? What if the sky has already made its decision? What if the rain is done? Here's the truth that most people don't know. Earth's rain doesn't start in the clouds, it starts in the forests. In the Amazon, in the Congo, in Siberia. Trees aren't just part of the ecosystem, they create it. Through a process called biotic pump, massive forests generate moisture through transpiration, pulling water from the ground and releasing it into the air. That moisture rises, condenses, and becomes clouds. It's a living cycle, one we barely understand. But here's the terrifying part. Once a forest loses enough trees, that pump shuts down. The region dries. The clouds disappear. And eventually, the rain, even from neighboring areas, stops coming. This isn't theory. It's already happening. Scientists estimate that if deforestation in the Amazon reaches 20 to 25%, the system will collapse. Right now, we're at 17%. Let that sink in. We are inches from a tipping point, and if we cross it, the Amazon won't become less green. It will become a desert. And it won't stop there. Weather systems across South and North America depend on those rain patterns. Cut the source, and storms vanish. Rain vanishes. Entire agricultural systems fail. The scariest thing? Once the shift happens, it's irreversible, not for decades, but for centuries. And yet, deforestation continues, legal, illegal, unstoppable. So here's the question. What happens when the machine that makes rain breaks? And worse, what if we are the ones who broke it? Today, scientists around the world are racing to understand the unraveling of Earth's water cycle. In ultra-secure climate labs, researchers use high-resolution atmospheric models to simulate what happens when global rainfall patterns break down. What they're finding is disturbing. In 2021, the European Space Agency launched satellites capable of measuring even the slightest shifts in atmospheric moisture. The data they're sending back shows vast, dry corridors forming where clouds used to thrive, silent zones where rain no longer gathers. Meanwhile, bioclimatologists are studying cloud forests, rare ecosystems where vegetation literally pulls mist from the air, to see how plants might help restore lost humidity. But even these efforts feel like patching holes in a sinking ship. In Dubai, China, and the US, governments have turned to artificial rainmaking, cloud seeding using silver iodide to force rainfall. It works, temporarily. But it doesn't fix the costs. It just delays the collapse. Other teams are experimenting with atmospheric generators, machines designed to pull water vapor from dry air. But the energy cost is staggering, and they work only on small scales. The brutal truth? We're trying to engineer our way out of a system we still barely understand. One breakthrough came in 2024, when researchers discovered a link between microplastic pollution and cloud condensation, suggesting that human waste might actually be interfering with rainfall formation. That revelation sent shockwaves through the climate science community. Because it means the problem isn't just deforestation, or heat, or carbon. It's everything. Every part of modern life feeding into a stormless sky. And now, we're running out of time to learn how to bring the rain back. Not all scientists agree on what's causing the disappearance of rain. Some point to deforestation. Others blame global warming, melting ice, changing ocean currents. But a growing minority believe the real issue lies in something far more controversial, our atmosphere itself, being poisoned. Geoengineering, the deliberate manipulation of Earth's climate, has been discussed for decades. Projects aimed at cooling the planet by injecting particles into the upper atmosphere, reflecting sunlight back into space. Sounds promising, but what if it's having side effects? Some researchers argue these particles could interfere with cloud formation, disrupting natural rain cycles. The science is unclear. The ethics even more so. Governments deny such operations exist, but classified documents leaked in 2023 suggest otherwise. Then there's another theory, even darker, that the endless pulse of radio waves, satellites, high-frequency emissions from modern technology is subtly altering the way clouds behave. Too fringe? Maybe. But history has shown us that truth often starts as a whisper. And while debates rage in labs and forums, the skies remain dry. We wanted control, progress, comfort, infinite growth. We paved over wetlands, built megacities, burned billions of barrels of oil. And for a while, it worked. Life got faster, easier. But now, the bill is coming due. And nature doesn't offer refunds. Some say it's too late. Others believe we still have time. But the question hangs heavier with every passing year. What did we trade for modern life? And was it worth the price of losing the sky itself? The day the rain stopped, the world didn't notice. Not right away. It wasn't one moment, but millions of missed forecasts, fields drying early, rivers failing to rise, clouds forming, but never falling. At first, it was labeled an anomaly, then a pattern, and finally, a crisis. Crops withered, wheat prices tripled, countries began rationing water, enforcing irrigation bans, shutting down fountains, pools, even agriculture. In cities, people stood in lines for water the way they once lined up for phones. In rural areas, families abandoned land passed down for generations, now cracked and useless. Science, once seen as savior, became a scapegoat. Governments accused climate researchers of fearmongering until the evidence became impossible to ignore. Entire regions became uninhabitable. Insects that once relied on moisture vanished. Pollination collapsed. Without pollinators, food systems fell apart. Livestock died. Hospitals overflowed, not with the sick, but the dehydrated. And in the silence, something darker crept in: chaos. Borders tightened. Water wars erupted. Even wealthy nations saw unrest, as people realized no technology could make the rain return. Desalination? Too slow. Transporting water? Too costly. Artificial rain? Unreliable. And underneath it all, one haunting truth remained. Humans had changed the sky, and the sky had stopped answering. The planet wasn't just reacting, it was correcting. And now, we live in that correction. Dust in the air. Fear in every drought. A generation growing up never having danced in the rain. The great question we must now face isn't scientific, it's existential. Can we survive in a world where the sky has turned its back on us? So now we stand at a threshold, not of technology, but of conscience. We've seen what happens when rain disappears. Not just in numbers, not just on maps, but in lives. In fields that no longer grow. In rivers that forgot how to flow. In children who've never tasted real rain on their skin. The question we face is no longer how to fix the climate, but whether we're willing to change who we are to deserve it back. Because the truth is brutal. We caused this. Through consumption, denial, ambition without limits. We treated nature as a resource, not a relationship. And in doing so, we severed the thread that connected us to the most ancient rhythm of life, the water falling from the sky. Some believe we still have time. That reforestation, restoration, regulation could stabilize the cycle. That if we give the earth space to breathe, it might remember how to rain again. Others argue it's too late, that the feedback loops have already locked in a dry future. So what do? Double down on control? Or surrender to renewal? Do we keep extracting, building, expanding, or do we finally pause and listen? Maybe the greatest breakthrough humanity can achieve isn't technological, but humility. The kind that bends our heads not in pride, but in prayer for a sky that still might forgive us. The choice is ours, but time is not. Do you remember the question we asked at the beginning? What if it never rained again? Back then, it felt like a thought experiment, a scary story. But now, after everything you've heard, how far-fetched does it really sound? Look out your window. How many days has it been since you last felt real rain? Not a drizzle, but a downpour. A storm that made you pause. A sky that made you feel small. I'll be honest with you, this story terrifies me. Because it's not science fiction. It's not the future. It's now. Quiet, creeping, irreversible. And we all play a part. Through the choices we make, the things we consume, the silence we allow. And here's what haunts me the most. The idea that one day, children will ask us what rain felt like, and we'll struggle to explain, because we lost it slowly, gradually, until it was just gone. Maybe there's still a way back. Maybe not. But if you've ever stood in the rain and felt alive even once, then you know what's at stake. So I'm asking you, just you, watching this right now, what are you willing to change before the last drop falls? Before the sky forgets us forever? Let me know in the comments. Be honest. I'll be there reading. Because this, all of this, might be the most important story we ever tell. And next time you feel a raindrop, don't run from it. Stop, look up, and remember,